Alrighty, let's go ahead and get started for the last two sessions of the day. Our first one is web2py, ideas we borrowed, ideas we had. Massimo Di Piero.
Hello, everybody. I guess you know web2py is a project that started in 2007, and so far it's been doing really well. We won 2 awards this year. And web2py started by me, but actually we have a lot of contributors right now. We have about 50 contributors, 20 of them really very active in the community. In particular, I want to thank people like Mariano, Jonathan, Bruno, and Martin. Many people really contributed. So let me point you to some resources in case I won't be able to cover everything I want to cover. So there's the web2py.com webpage. We have 2 books. One was out last week. It's a packet book. We have another web page, which is /appliances, contains more than 50 working examples, applications you can download. And then we have an application website with plugins. And we have another one, which is web2py slices, where people post recipes. And it's based on a web2py-based social network. And also the source code of that is publicly available. The code is on GitHub. So what are the ideas we borrowed? Ideas we borrowed are things that we liked from other frameworks, and we studied them when we started web2py. So first of all, web2py is model view controller based and WSGI based, as any other framework out there. One thing we really liked are the Java WAR archives that allow you to easily transfer an application from one system to another. So we have something like that in web2py that's called w2p files. They are nothing but target zipped folders that contain your applications, but we have ways to transfer them easily. We also liked optional routing, like Rails does. So the URL is automatically mapped into a function call, but we also liked the ability to be able to customize it like Django does. So we have a routing mechanism, just it's optional. Templating language, something that is needed, and we really liked Mako, where you don't need to learn another template language, you just use the Python syntax. So our template language is very similar to Mako, but we have other features like blocks that we borrowed from Django. We have a system of helpers, like Rails does, except that our helpers have the same name as the corresponding HTML tags, so span, a, div, form, and this makes them very easy to remember. Even the attributes are the same as the corresponding HTML attributes. We also liked a syntax that was introduced in web.py, which is when we have a request and a key XXX, for example, we can call it with request.xxx. So we implement that syntax. Another thing we really liked is the Django admin interface, the database administration interface. So web2py has something like that, although it's not as good looking as the Django one, and is designed for administrators. It's not designed to be exposed to your users. We have another mechanism to create interfaces that are customized for your users. So which are the ideas we had? First of all, we want a tool for both technical and non-technical people. It started as a tool for teaching. We also wanted to make sure it's always backward compatible. That's our mission. We never broke backward compatibility since 2007. We make sure it works on 2.5, 2.6, 2.7, PyPy, and Jython. We want one-click deploy. We deliver installers for Windows, Mac, and you can also put in a USB drive. You plug the USB drive on a Windows machine, it starts everything. It does not require Python pre-installed unless you want to. There are no configuration files, there are no dependencies, and we try to make it secure by default. So we don't allow users to fiddle with parameters that can affect security. Everything as a default, so you don't repeat yourself. What does it mean? You create a controller, you don't need a template unless you want to customize it. It means many other things. It's multi-project, multi-DB, and share nothing by default. One web2py installation can run hundreds of different websites, so under one web server. And each of them is going to have its own DB or multiple DBs, or they can share DB. Each of them can have its own subdirectory of modules, and 2 different applications can call the same module, different versions of the same module. There are no conflicts. Another idea we had is a web-based IDE. You should be able to develop, edit your files, deploy, manage your applications, do translations of your application, test, debug, and do version control through the web interface. So web2py provides that. You can do everything through the shell if you like, but it should be optional. We have automatic DB migration, so you add a line to your model, it will alter the table for you automatically. We have a mechanism of plugins, components, and so plugins are a way to distribute a group of components. Components are subsets of an application, which talk in background with Ajax, and we have digitally signed URLs so people cannot hack into that. Other ideas we had, other things we embedded are role-based access control mechanisms with pluggable authentication modules. So we support OpenID, LDAP, CAS, Oath, PAM, JonRain, Google, Dropbox, and so on. It all comes packaged with it. Every application is a central authentication service provider by default. You don't need to do anything, and any other application can be a consumer of that service. We have a built-in portable cron and a master worker task scheduler, so any application is that already. And it's a multiple tenant application. So let's say you develop a store, then somebody else needs a store that looks like yours. You don't need to duplicate the database. You can make it multi-tenant. It looks different depending on the URL, and all the data goes in the same database, but the two tenants see different subsets of the database. We have record versioning, and it's done in such a way that every time you save a record, you have the option to save the previous version, and the links are never broken in the process. With embeddable CRUB and grid controls, which means if you need to build something like an administrative interface for your users, you can take the controls out of the built-in admin interface. We also package a lot of third-party modules like PyFPDF, written by somebody in the audience, Mariano, which basically converts HTML to PDF. We package some database drivers, we package credit card payment APIs, and a lot of other things. So how do you get web2py? You download the source code, or you get a binary distribution, you unzip it, and then you start it with web2py.py, and you have to tell it which password you want to use as administrator. Once you download it, you get a certain directory structure. The top directory structure is 100 kilobytes. It only contains the adapters to talk to different web servers, like FCGI or WSGI or many others, like Google App Engine. It runs on Google App Engine. Then there is a folder called Gluon. That's where all the modules are. So Gluon is 1.3 megabytes, and it's smaller than many micro frameworks. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. And then there is another folder called Contrib, which is about 2 megabytes, and that folder contains contributed modules, things that are kind of optional, like authentication methods, credit card payment APIs. So let's see what adapters we have. We have a large list of adapters. We support many web servers. And we have one file in there called anyserver.py, which is based on, we took some code from Bottle for that. And you can run it with Tornado or CherryPy or Diesel or Mongrel and so on. You just say anyserver.py -s, the server you want to run with, and web2py will run with that. And there is a file to configure routes, like you do in Django if you want to. Now let's look into Gluon. That's where the actual web2py code is. And there are many files in there. Some are more important than others. One is dal.py. That's a single file database abstraction layer. We rewrote a lot of these files about 1 year ago. And this one in particular, we rewrote it so that it's framework agnostic. So you can take this file out. You can run it with any other framework. Some people use it with Flask or Bottle. And it supports about 10 Stableway, 10 database engines. Also runs on Google App Engine. And now we are integrating with Teradata, MongoDB, and Kubrid. We also have Rocket, which is the web server. It's SSL enabled with threads. We have template. Again, it's a single file, pure Python template language. It's similar to Mako. We're going to see some examples later. And then we have main.py. That contains the main WSGI application. So however you start with web2py eventually calls the WSGI application in there. There is html.py contains the helpers, and then we have cron.py and scheduler.py. Most of these files you can take out of web2py if you want to use them with other frameworks, even if you find convenient to use web2py for everything. In Contrib, we have document processing libraries, protocols, RSS, feed parser, JSON, PySimple, SOAP to support SOAP, caching adapters for Redis, Memcache, Gaia Memcache, payment processing, and login methods and drivers. Okay, then there is another subfolder called applications. You create an application by creating a subfolder of the application subfolder. That's all you need to do. And that structure is represented by the administrative interface. So the administrative interface, the administrative IDE of web2py basically allows you to edit that folder structure. So this is how it looks like. You can manage, edit projects. You can remove, install, and deploy. There's a wizard that helps you create by asking questions. You can deploy in the cloud. You can download from the cloud. You can deploy to Google App Engine through the web interface. If you access it from a mobile phone, we have a mobile interface. And again, you can turn applications on, off, browse the database, and all kind of stuff. You can translate your application. You just go to the web page for the translation, say which language you want to translate in, finds all the strings, you type them in the form, you click submit, works in the other language. We don't make a distinction between debugging and production mode. If there is any bug in your code, the user gets issued a ticket. If you are the administrator, you can click on the ticket, and you see what happened. Tickets are grouped by traceback, so you can see how many times a particular traceback appeared. You can see the IP addresses of the people. You can see the complete traceback and the state of the system. It's all recorded for you. If you go under an application folder, we have a model view controller design, which again is reproduced into the web-based IDE. You can access through the IDE, or you can do it from the shell. You just go in CD application, make a new dir friends, makes an application called friends. You copy the scaffolding one, and you edit your files. There is no metadata anywhere. Anything you do from the shell is reproduced in the web interface, and vice versa. Now let's build something. I think we have some time, so let's try to build something interesting. So we'll be building a URL shortening service, also a bookmarking service with tagging, and the system will count the clicks of people that click on the short URLs. We will also take these URLs and connect to the WOT service, Web of Trust, to rank these pages for child safety, and we will get screenshots embedded into the application from the URLs that we are shortening. And I should thank Miguel for giving me this idea. I wrote this talk yesterday based on this idea. Okay, so let me close this part. And so let's start. So first thing we do, we start from scratch. I'm not assuming we have anything. So we download web2py, and we unzip it, and we cd into it, and we start it, and we open it. Okay? So we're done with this. Now you have web2py up and running. Now we go under the applications folder, and we see what's in there. So we have some applications already there. And we go into the administrative interface. So this is the administrative interface. Let me log into it. So this is how it looks like. I can take any applications like, I don't know, this one, welcome, and I can go database interface. I can edit a file, and so on. Okay. I can do. I can get a web-based Python shell to talk to the application, exposes all the API. I can run web-based tests. I can configure my Chrome tab from here. I can access Mercurial with versioning. I can get all the errors for this application. There's none right now, and so on. There are various things you can do. You can collapse, and you can see the directory structure. Let me go back here. So let's create our new application. Oh, there's one more thing I should show you before. Let me go back to site. These are all my applications. I can automatically upgrade from here. I can start the wizard. It asks me questions like test app, and there are kind of things we can do here, like choose a layout and all kind of things from the wizard. You can create a new application here by saying test, make one. You made the new application test, and on and on, okay? Let me go back and make it from the shell now. I'm going to do the same thing from the shell. So make my app, copy the scaffolding one, and cd into it. And let's see that it was made. So it was made. It just copied the scaffolding one. Doesn't do much right now. But you see that I already have login, register, lost password, and menus and everything. And you can change the layout. It's just HTML. OK, so let me remove the controller that it comes with and rewrite one. So I'm going to rewrite one. So let me do something like index hello, return hello world. And let me make another one called oops that just does 1 divided by 0. So I'm going to run it. So this is hello world. So a controller is a function. The URL is mapped into the function call and so on. If I call oops, I get an internal error. I get the ticket. I logged in as administrator. I can look at the traceback. Let's do something else. Let's edit a model. And let's create a table link that contains a field URL, which has to be unique. OK, so what do we do next? Now we access the database administrative interface. I see it here was created, and I can insert records in there already, and I can see that there is a single field, okay? Well, let me go here and edit it again and make it something more sophisticated. Okay, URL is still there. I add visits. I want to count how many people visit this URL. I want to store a screenshot. Something needs to be uploaded. It has to be not writable by the users. It's going to be done automatically. And this particular table records will be formatted and represented by the URL. Now I'm going to add another table called bookmark. And this table is going to have a reference to a link. It's going to have a category. So when I bookmark a link, I'm going to have a category. It can be work or personal or something else. I have a list of tags. I want to be able to tag my bookmarks, which are a list of strings. And each bookmark is going to have a signature made by the particular user who bookmarked it. So that gives me who was this record created by, when it was modified, and so on. OK, now I'm going to do a URL shortening, so I need functions to do that. I'm going to create like a regular Python function 2 code that takes an ID, like an integer, the auto-incremented ID of a field, and is going to convert that into a string, which is the shortened URL. So we don't need to go into details. That just converts an integer into a short string. I need the opposite. Given this little piece of code, I want it converted back into an integer. So this is the reversed function. Okay? These are useful. We don't need to go into the details of how they work. And then I have a shortened thing, which works like this. Given the ID of a record and the row for that record, so the actual row object, build a URL that maps into a controller visit that I didn't create yet. And it's going to be that controller / the code, which I convert from the ID. And I want to display the scheme, so I want to display HTTP / and so on before that. So S is going to be that URL. URL is an API of web2py. And now I say return A of S, href equal S. A is a helper in web2py, which basically creates the link object. Finally, we do a little bit more configuration. A bookmark link should be represented by the shortened link. The ID should not be readable. And these records, there is an optional field in the signature is active. We don't want to see it. OK, so that's done. Let's look at admin. Now, here's something interesting. You see that there is a link. Now there is a bookmark. I modified the table link, right? So I can look into this file in the administrative interface and shows me that this table link was altered because I added some fields. So the database is altered automatically and without me having to do anything. There is no event that I need to trigger it. So you can just modify your tables as any way you like, but just by adding this one file, which is the models. Now let's edit a new file called utils, where I'm going to interact with some third-party services. So I'm going to import urllib, and I'm going to interact with Tumblizer. So Tumblizer is a service where I connect to that URL. I give them the URL of a page. It's going to return back the link to a screenshot. What this is going to do is going to take the link to a screenshot. It's going to put into a link screenshot. It's going to store it in there. What rate? I give it a URL. It connects to the Web of Trust service. And it imports simple JSON, which comes with web2py. And it connects to the Web of Trust URL. It's a RESTful service. It's going to pass this link. It's going to get back a JSON structure that contains child safety ratings. It's going to convert back from JSON to a dictionary. It's going to do some things and get back a Python dictionary. OK, so we're done with this part. Now it's time to edit the menu. So you see that the applications in web2py have a menu on top. Again, you can modify that using CSS and HTML, but we're going to use the default layout here. So the default layout understands something called response menu. So we want to display home, which is going to point to a controller index, and my bookmarks, which is going to point to a controller bookmarks. We didn't write them yet, OK? Done. So we wrote that. Time to do the controller. So I'm going to edit this thing. And I'm going to add a new controller called bookmark. This is the one I will be clicking on to actually bookmark a page that I like and get a shortened URL and tag it. I'm going to require login. You can only access this if you're logged in. What it's going to do is going to extract the URL from the request variables, from the URL question mark equal and so on. is going to create a link object, a link record, or fetch one if it exists already for this URL. It's going to update it with a screenshot from Tumblizer, so it's now calling the previous API. Now it's going to create a bookmark to this link, or fetch the one that exists already if I have bookmarked it before. Now it's going to call what rate, so it's going to get rating for this particular URL, and it's going to use cache RAM, which is another API in web2py. It's going to cache it so I don't do too many requests to this third-party service. And I'm going to embed in the page a form which is based on the bookmark table. I'm going to process the form. If the user submits the form, I'm going to go next to another page called bookmarks that I'm going to edit. Return, I'm done. Now I need another action, visit, tracks visitors. So a visitor clicks on a shortened URL. I retrieve the code. I convert to int. I fetch the record. I update the record number of visits, adding 1. I redirect to the URL so the user can go to the destination page. Final action, this is the last one. Again, I'm going to require login. Notice I could require membership, I could require permission, I can decorate any function in the code in anywhere with all kind of role-based access control. So this one allows me, as a user of this system, to manage my bookmarks. So what does it do? First of all, which records can I access? Well, all the bookmark created by me, the logged in user, and is going to make a join bookmark link, we call link.id, is going to join them with the actual links. And it's going to make a grid that is going to be filtered by this query and is not going to allow me to create new links from here because this is not the way to do it. The way to do it is from the previous action, but from here I can delete, I can edit them, return it. So this is done. So this already works. Okay, this is everything we need. We just have to make it a little prettier. So now I can go to the register page. I can register. And so on. And we're going to do this later. Okay. Now, this is our bookmark URL right now. So I would say to the bookmark page, question mark, the URL I want to bookmark. So let's say google.com. And it comes here, and this is the bookmark controller that we created. So I see that this is the shortened URL. It's not as short as I want it. I'm going to make it much shorter. So visit/k. So the /k points to Google. I can set my category. I can add tags. Google search engine, things like this. Okay, and submit. And now I redirect it to my bookmarks. I can manage them. I can search for Google and things like that. And I can search by different criteria. And this is my user interface. This is a query builder. I can edit things and so on. I'll go back here. Let's make it a little bit better. First of all, I don't like that URL is still too long. So I'm going to customize my routes. And I'm going to customize my routes in. So I'm going to get any /code. And I'm going to map into my app default visit/code. So this is the same syntax, very much the same syntax as Django here, but we can do also the reverse. So the reverse is when we have a long URL generated, shorten it, do the reverse. There are other things we can do here. We can do all kinds of filtering. In particular, we can filter errors. So if there are errors in my application, just redirect to a standard error page. You can customize this any way you want. OK. One more thing. Let me force reload the routes. So let me go to the administrator interface. I have modified routes, so I need to reload them. Okay? So that does not require restarting the web server. You never restart the web server in web2py. I mean, you can run for months, years. You never restart it unless you upgrade. Now, one thing we want to do is we want people to be able to access this using their Google account or some other or Facebook account. So we're going to use a service called John Rain. In order to use the service, the only thing you need to do is you need to give it the key of John Rain into this private folder. If it finds the key, it uses the John Rain authentication. So now it looks better. Let me log out. Let me log in again. So if I log in again, OK, it asks me for the Google login. There we go. And I hope the network is not failing me. Let's do it again. OK, it's working. Just a little slow. We'll leave it there. RPX now is a bit slow today. Well, let's keep going and hope that that's not too much of a problem. Now when I do, I can do a bookmark again under my username. Let me do this once more. Oh, OK, I'm logged in as me here. OK, it's working now, just very slow connection. OK, so now I'm going to bookmark Google again, like this new user I am now. And so I see my interface and everything. What's the problem here is that I have a default view, which is not exactly the way I want it to look. So that's what we need to do next. We need to customize our views to make them better. So here we use the template language of web2py, which is really simple. You extend some layout HTML, which is another HTML file. You use, and all the commands in web2py go into double curly brackets. Equal means you want to display a variable. So this view just displays the grid. My bookmarks just returns a grid, and I want to embed the grid. Now I want the bookmark HTML view. View don't have to be in HTML. You can have views in JSON, in PDF, or in anything you like. So how does this one look like? This is going to display a bookmark for URL, which is the variable returned by the controller bookmark. And in the templates, you can define functions. I'm going to define a function show that takes a rating as returned by the whatrate service, and is going to extract the parameter I require and put them into a strong tag in HTML, and it's going to return. So I define a function. And now it's going to tell me what's the trustworthy of this website. It's going to call the show function, takes the rating returned by the controller, displayed there, reliability of this website, privacy, child safety, and so on. And display the screenshot that we downloaded from Tumblizer, and display the form that we have created in the controller to edit the tags. OK, this is done. One more thing. Let's do some JavaScript magic here. Let me remove the default view index and edit a new one. So we enable a sidebar. This is a feature of the default layout, which you can change. And that doesn't belong there, but doesn't matter. And this is what we do. We display open our URL bookmarking, welcome to our URL bookmarking shortening and rating service. And in the right sidebar, we do some JavaScript, which basically links to the controller we have created. So it links, changes the Windows location to the Windows location of our bookmark controller. OK? That's it. Let's give it a try. OK. So this is my app. So first thing I do, I take this thing that was created by this view. I put it here. Now I go to any page that I like. Like let me go to my employer website. And so I'm here. Now I click on bookmark. And it gives me a short URL for my employer, /y. I can search the category, so work. Here's going to be the screenshot. Here are the ratings as given by WT, and here I can write tags and so on. And so on. OK. And now I can edit my bookmarks. So give me all this contain work, and so on. Now let's create some web services. I only have 5 minutes. OK. How do you create web services? We have decorators, service.json, XML, JSON RPC, XML RPC, AMF RPC, SOAP. And now the function you want to expose with all those services. And I want a function called links by that takes a key and returns all the links that contain this key. I want to select them all, and I want only distinct ones. And I want to expose with all those services. That's the old way to expose services. This is a new way, which is make your request RESTful and expose an API. So I can call in this API. I can call it any way I like. It's just an action. And I can separately do post and get. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to do a get calls the previous function links by, but I could inline the function. And I'm not going to implement post because there is not enough time, but it's really easy, a couple of lines here to get it done. There has to be that line that means I do want to expose the services I have defined. OK, so we're done with that. So let me call the services. So let me call the service in JSON links by and pass a key Google. OK, and I get the JSON response. Let me call the same thing /XML, and I get the XML response. Let me call the same thing using the RESTful API. So I say API/google.json. And same thing with XML. And again, works out of the box with all the other protocols you've seen. So Flash, SOAP, everything, all the standard things. Now, let's say I want to deploy this remotely. Actually, I'm going to do this later. Let me do something else which is more interesting. Scheduler. I want this application to send me an email every day about all the number of users I have. So let me edit my tasks. So I import the web2py scheduler. I write a function emailed me. This is my email. This is the text of the message. Number of users. The number of users is db.authUser.count, count all the users. Send an email to me with the subject stats message. Return done. Make an instance of the scheduler that exposes the function email me and calls it email me. Now, if I don't have any task scheduled, insert in the list of tasks this task. The application name is the current application. The task is email me user count. The function is email me. It takes no arguments. And it should be called every 24 hours. Repeat 0 means keep repeating it. That's it. And now you start the workers. And you can start as many workers as you like on different machines from the same machine. And the worker will pick up the tasks and send me the email. So this is a complete application. Everything is 225 lines of code. We've seen that works. Let's say I want to deploy remotely. I should be able to do this in time. And, sorry. Okay, overtime. Okay, just 1 second. And if I want to deploy remotely, this is my application called, This is my application called My App. I package it, and I get the w2p file. Now I log into another administrative interface somewhere else. I upload these w2p files, and my application is running there with a copy of the database. Thank you.